So let me help you by giving you a strategy of how we can solve linear equations. First thing we always want to do is simplify. Are we able to simplify the problem? The second one, let's go ahead and collect all the variable terms and put them on one side of the equation and collect the constants and stick it on the other side of the equation. The third step is isolate the variable. First, by isolating the variable term. Secondly, by isolating the variable. And the last one, check your solution to make sure you didn't goof. So let's look at a problem where we have 2x minus 8x plus 40 equals 13 minus 3x minus a 3. Systematically, first simplify. It looks like on the left side I can add and collect the x terms. So I have a negative 6x plus a 40. And on the right side I have some constants I can collect. I have a 13 and a negative 3, or 13 take away 3, which is a 10, and then I have a negative 3x. So that's step one. I was able to simplify. Step two, collect the variable terms on one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add I'm going to add 6x to both sides. Doing that, my first, well, we'll see what happens. I'm left with a 40 equals a 10. Negative 3x plus a 6x gives me a positive 3x. That produces a positive 3x here. Had I done it the other way, which is fine, it would have produced a negative value of x. Then I would have had to deal with that with one extra step. But one extra step, not a big deal. Step two still is isolate the constants and put those on the other side. So I'll have a 10. Let's subtract 10 plus my 3x. And then on this side, I'll have a 40, and I've subtracted 10 from both sides. And that's my equality. Simplify, left with a 30 equals a 3x. So I was able to, on that step, I was able to isolate the variable terms. That happened. Now I want to isolate the variable. We do that by dividing both sides by the coefficient of the x term. The 3's factor out. I have left with an x equals a 10. Barring a mistake I made somewhere, then step 4, let's check that in our original solution. So I have 2 times a 10 minus 8 times a 10 plus 40 equals 13 minus 3 times a 10 minus a 3. 20 minus 80 plus 40 equals 13 minus 30 minus a 3. 20 minus 80 gives me a negative 60 plus 40 produces a negative 20. 13 minus 30 gives me a negative 17 plus a negative 3 gives me a negative 20. So my checks out. Negative 20 equals negative 20, which tells me that my solution of 10, x equals 10, was the correct solution.